torture, magic, resilience, history, a 9-run 11th inning, and a series win in Chicago, and the Giants just continue to show people day by day that they're for real and they're back.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting this show for over 6 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. So check us out there if you have not already, and please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. And coming up on today's show, we've got two amazing things to talk about. Number one, the middle game of this series. After the Giants got blown out in game one, 9-2, with Landon Roop getting hit around a little bit, Matthew Boyd dominating. Game two was a little bit better and more interesting, and like I said, torture, magic, and history all in the span of a couple innings here. The Giants took a 5-3 lead into the bottom of the ninth, and despite going into the game, may still be the case, the second best bullpen ERA, they've had some difficulties in the ninth, and Ryan Walker has been a part of that. And Ryan Walker has been a part of it on now a couple of occasions in which the Giants were trying to get Justin Verlander his first win of the year, as he is likely the last player who even has an outside shot of getting to 300 wins. He's got 262, and they just can't get him a win, and they just keep blowing games that they have a late lead in 3 out of the last 4 times. And so Ryan Walker comes in and he doesn't have his command, and he walks a couple guys and he gives up a hit, and they take him out and they bring in Eric Miller for Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker ties the game. So it's like demoralizing. Talk about torture, right? That inning was torturous and they blew it. And then the Giants couldn't score in the top of the 10th, and then you're just figuring you're very likely to lose that game. And Eric Miller just bore down and got through it, struck out Pete Crow Armstrong, who's having a really big kind of breakout year at the plate and with the glove and with his legs, strikes him out, gets through that bottom of the 10th unscathed, stranding the winning run at third base that was there with 1 out. And then up comes the 11th. And this is where the history comes into play. So we had our torture, we had our magic, which was kind of escaping some of those innings, but the history and the magic also go hand in hand. So the Giants scored 9 runs in the 11th inning, and that is the most runs in a single extra inning that the Giants have ever scored. And this, we say that, and that it goes back to 1900 or 1901, simply because they weren't keeping track of innings in the same way they are now. So basically, there's no history that shows the Giants have ever scored that many runs in an extra frame. And so what was looking like a 5-3 win potentially and getting Verlander his first win becomes what's looking like a likely loss, and a brutal one at that, and another blown Verlander win. And suddenly you would have lost 2 straight in Chicago, and you're trying to salvage a win and not get swept, to a blowout, 14-5. Giants sent like 13 guys to the plate in the inning. They scored, I think it was 7 runs before they made an out. Elliot Ramos had 2 doubles in the inning. Somehow they didn't score a runner from second on his first double. Christian Koss kind of got caught in between there. And so what a crazy game. I've certainly never seen the Giants do anything like that. One caveat, it's worth noting, there's all this talk about this inning, obviously, for, it's historic, but it is worth pointing out they got an automatic runner on second to start the inning. So in the history of the game, that has not been the case until recently. So that is just a caveat to that. But nonetheless, to score 9 in any inning is noteworthy, certainly. And in extra innings, to have what turns out to be blowout win is just kind of crazy. And Kyle Harrison, in his first major league appearance of the year and his first relief appearance ever in professional baseball, and who knows, like dating back to his time in amateur baseball, he was so good. I mean, when was the last time he was probably used out of the bullpen? I don't know, maybe never. But what did he do? Well, he featured the stuff that we heard about when it comes to velocity. He was pumping in 97s and just got out of the inning quickly with 2 strikeouts. And so it was great to see Kyle Harrison, Eric Miller saving the day. Ryan Walker had another tough one in that outing. I mean, Verlander went 5, and they used Randy Rodriguez for an inning, Camilo Doval for an inning, Tyler Rogers for an inning, Walker, Eric Miller, and Harrison. And only Walker gave up the 2 runs, and the rest of the team in 6 innings. So it's 6 innings, 2 runs. So that's just more great bullpen work. And we know Ryan Walker is better than this. But all in all, just the fact that the Giants were able to come back after such a big gut punch with the Cubs scoring 2 in the bottom of the 9th, and then have not just a win, but that kind of win and that kind of inning, and then to come out the next day, today, and win 3-1 behind Robbie Ray. They just cannot seem to lose with Robbie Ray on the mound, and we'll get into the finale and the specifics of that game and Robbie Ray a little bit later on. But it is just every day, even when, like, if the Giants face a difficult circumstance like a 9-2 loss in the series opener where they just looked really bad and the defense was a problem, and we were really down on Willy Adames' defense after that game, and that was what the episode was mostly about after that game, to come back the way that they did and have the 2 next games that they did. This is what they've been able to do all year. Like, it's beyond resilient. It's like resilient with emphasis. Like, it's resounding resilience. And I discussed this in a little YouTube short I did, but I made a big deal of the Giants losing the first game against the Rockies in a 4-game series, but then winning the next 3. So it's a series that you feel like you should take 3 out of 4, but it's always hard to take 3 out of 4. But it's especially hard to take 3 out of 4 when you lose the first one. But they did it. But a lot of people probably aren't going to let me make too big of a deal out of beating the Rockies, who are 6-28 on the season now. But to go into Chicago, the Cubs have been kind of they've been good, and they've been scoring over 6 runs a game or close to 6 runs a game. And so it's a tough place to go in and play. And the Giants got kind of pummeled in game 1, and they come out with a series win despite the adversity of blowing a game in the 9th in the middle game. And just incredible, And the Giants now are 24-14. It is the 3rd best record in baseball. The only 2 teams with a better record are in the division. So that just is annoying. But, well, it's tied with the Mets for the 3rd best record in baseball. But 24-14. I do not know the last time they were 10 games over 500. They've done it in the last several years, but this feels different. This year's team, it really does feel different than at any point in the last several years. If they did manage to get to 10 or so games under 500, it felt like, how are they doing this? Well, this team, I expect them to win, and maybe it has a lot to do with the pitching. So we're going to get into what's going on, big picture with this team, and the fact that they can't get Verlander a win, but Robbie Ray, on the other hand, can't lose. So we'll get into all of that in just a minute. And before we do, Today's episode of Locked on Giants is brought to you in part by Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk. Got some right here on my desk. Trying to crack them into the microphone, shake them into the microphone. Or on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they are always my go-to. But if you love snacking or cracking open every shell, I should say, for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, as promised, more about the Giants being resilient and kind of unbelievable to start the 2025 season. Every time that I doubt them and others doubt them. I mean, I received a tweet prior to the middle game of the series, like, are the Giants like completely crashing back down to earth? They had a good start, but lately they just don't seem to be right. Well, that's baseball. Is like you could have easily lost that middle game and gone into a tailspin, but instead they punched back in a big way, and they've just got some quality players up and down the roster. And I think the pitching is probably the number one thing, even though it's been inconsistent for some guys. But that bullpen performance has been pretty consistent outside of a weird ninth inning issue they've had, which thankfully I feel like they have plenty of options if that inning continues to be weird. And Robbie Ray has been awesome. And then they call up Kyle Harrison, and he looked so good. So that is like when you have confidence in your pitchers to go out there and hold leads and also keep you in games when you're behind. I think Buster Posey was onto something when he talked about pitching and defense. Thanks again for making Locked on Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow I would like to do a fresh round of mailbag questions. I feel like enough has changed since the last time we did them that I would love to hear from you what's on your mind about this 2025 team. I do think it's a little early for trade conversations. Lamont Wade Jr. first base is definitely something that I think people have been a little anxious about, given that Wade has struggled. But today, in the Giants' 3-1 win, Wade had 2 more hits, no strikeouts. And in the middle game of the series, Lamont Wade, he went just 1 for 5. But still, definitely a better day today. And then we saw what I was hoping for from Adames, which was some more routine plays, but also just converting them, some medium difficulty plays. Like, I just kind of hold my breath every time a ball is hit to him, given how much he struggled to start the year. But since the first game of the series, when he and Chapman each had 2 errors, and it occurred to me later that Adames, I think he was tied for the most errors in the major leagues. I don't tend to focus on errors as like the most important defensive metric, because it's not. And I could explain why, but I won't, because it would take too long and it would be a tangent. But Adames is playing better. There's just no doubt about it. His at-bats are better. If you look at his rolling weighted runs created plus, like he's been entering today 30% better than average offensively over his last 15 games. And then today he was, on base 60% of the time. He came up 5 times, was on base 3 times, hit a double, had a single, walked once, and struck out just once. So all of a sudden, I mean, the numbers looking much more normal for Willy Adames. And then defensively, I think we've seen some of the tools. Like, we saw a crazy play where a ball ricocheted off of Matt Chapman's chest, and Adames like stuck with it, grabbed it out of the air. And one of the things that has not been an issue is arm strength with Willy Adames. And so he's been more accurate with his throws in the last couple days. And if there's just maybe a little more focus on like, I'm going to make a good throw here. And it seems like there's been a little bit more, he's been under control a little bit more. And so that's been great to see. And yeah, I mean, when it's your $182 million offseason signing, you want to see them succeed and not fail in like every aspect of the game, which was kind of what we were seeing early on. So that was a positive sign. I mentioned the pitching, and we will get into that, and Robbie Ray and what Justin Verlander, I should say, had to say about Ryan Walker, or not about Ryan Walker, but about not getting this win. He just keeps being denied wins. But Matt Chapman he had another really good game. He could be a little bit streaky, but in the middle game of the series, he goes 3 for 5 with a walk, no strikeouts. He had a double. Elliot Ramos had those 2 doubles in the 11th. Jung Lee hit a home run and then had a rough game in the finale offensively, kind of nowhere to be seen. But Bailey collected 2 hits, including the first hit of that 11th inning to get the runs going. No, drove in the first runs of that inning, I should say. So nice to see Bailey have a better offensive game. He also had, I think, 2 sac flies in this game. So trying to stay a little bit level-headed, but when you just see the team being able to play as a team and win in different ways, it's just been a long time since we have seen this team play that style of baseball. And so I think in a lot of ways, you do credit some of this to the tone set by Buster Posey and the emphasis on pitching and defense and timely hitting. Like, that's basically what we've seen, although I would argue that the defense has had certainly trouble spots to it. But entering today's game, Giants came in with a 3.51 earned run average as a team, which was 7th. They came in with a fielding independent pitching of 3.44, which was 3rd. They came in with an expected fielding independent pitching of 3.62, which was 4th. And then there's this Sierra number. I've tried to read it and understand exactly what it means a little bit more. Suffice it to say, it's a kind of relevant ERA predictor number, and it's 3.64 as a team, and that's 8th. And so I really do think that, and Buster Posey has said this, like, when you have a team that can pitch, it keeps you in every game for the most part. And we saw it, like in the first game, it got away from them 9-2, and they weren't in that game. And it's been rare that we've seen games like that. It's kind of obvious, like if you give up 9 runs, you're not going to probably be in that game. But for the most part on the season, the Giants have been able to stay in just about every game, and it gives them a chance to go ahead early when they're putting up early zeros. If they give up some runs, but then they just like don't give up anything the rest of the way, it's given them chances to come back. And just all in all, like that. And then like in an extra inning game and tight games on the road, like, and you can't give up a run, and there's a winning run is on base, and you've got a bullpen that can get out of it. Like, that is important. And it's been probably the biggest factor for them this season in terms of being 24-14. That's got to be their best start to the season since 2021. The pace of that, I don't know exactly what that is, but that's 38 games, 24 wins out of 38 games. It's a 632 winning percentage times 162 games. It's a pace of 102.3 wins. And so am I saying they're going to win 102 games? No, but I'm saying that they're playing like a 102 win pace team. And so playoff odds, Fangraphs, which is typically pretty hard on the Giants. It's not that anyone is picking on them, but from a projection standpoint, it's got them at 56% playoff odds with a median projection win total of 87.3, tied with the Padres for second most in the National League West, with the Phillies and Braves and Mets kind of edging them out there in the East. So those, we got to watch all these teams, like the East teams, those big three in the East, and then keep an eye on the Brewers, keep an eye on the Reds, and then the teams in your own division, Diamondbacks, Dodgers, Padres. There's this other projection system called the Bat X, which has always been higher on the Giants, but now suddenly it's flipped and is higher on the Padres than the Giants, but it has them at 87, has the Giants at 87.6 wins. Kind of thinks that the Mets will fall off a little bit. Anyway, basically across the board, we're seeing projection systems believe the Giants are at this point like likely to win somewhere around 87 games, which is a significant improvement from where they were to start the season. And that's simply that they've got a bunch of wins in the bank. Like, you're 10 games over 500. If you play 500 the rest of the way, just 500, you're 86 and 76. So that would, these projections are basically thinking they're going to play almost 500 the rest of the way. So obviously, the hope is that they can do better than that. We know it's possible. We watched 2021 happen, but I don't know, the mix of veterans and young talent and the way that they can pitch and the way that they've been able to be good in critical situations offensively and the way that certain starting pitchers are coming around, including Robbie Ray. I mean, not just coming around. They can't lose with Robbie Ray on the mound. So we'll get into him, what he's been able to do. Also hear from Justin Verlander and Ryan Walker, discuss that ninth inning, just get deeper into the pitching in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that is made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. I actually ordered a part from Supply House myself, and it came super fast, and the price was very surprisingly great, and so it was awesome. Do you need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it is your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, here we go. We're going to get into Robbie Ray can't lose. Justin Verlander can't win. We'll hear from Justin Verlander. We'll hear from Ryan Walker, discuss the ninth, and look at Robbie Ray's pitching numbers and what it all means for the Giants moving forward. Like, who's their closer? There was some doubt, but now there's a little less doubt after today. And how about the Robbie Ray trade? My goodness, so much to get into. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow we're going to be answering your questions that I'll post a prompt for on Twitter and on YouTube community on Locked On Giants on YouTube. So anyway, let's hear from Justin Verlander, who, you know, to me, I don't really like that I have to worry about this because ultimately it's been a long time since I had to worry about this. Was it Randy Johnson going for 300 in a Giants uniform? Like, pitcher wins, I've just never cared about. But with Verlander, I do understand. Like, ultimately, I know the players really care. And if they care, it matters to me because I know that they care, and it's my job to talk about what's going on with this team. And Justin Verlander could easily have at least 3 wins. I mean, 3 out of his last 4 games were blown leads in the 8th and 9th innings, and with him in line for the win by the bullpen. Ryan Walker twice and Tyler Rogers. And so Walker said after the game, like, I watched the interview, he obviously felt really bad. And he said, I literally apologized to him today. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I've ruined this twice for you already. And Justin Verlander said of not just Ryan Walker, but of, well, I will just point out, Ryan Walker said that Justin Verlander was super cool about it. And he said, hey, look, like, everybody is we're all trying our best out there. You know, obviously Ryan Walker does not want to blow that game for the team and for Verlander. And so you'd kind of have to be a bad teammate. Look, I'm sure internally there's probably some thoughts that he's not saying out loud, but that's just human nature. But he also is correct that Ryan Walker is trying his best, obviously. And he also didn't see how good Ryan Walker was last year, which we all saw. And so maybe there's also some of that from Verlander. Like, why is this guy pitching in my games closing it out when he's just not been sharp all year? Well, we all saw over a much larger sample how sharp Ryan Walker can be. Anyway, let's hear from Verlander, who said, obviously, you want some wins, but I've also been somebody who never really expects a lot of wins when I only go 5 innings. I don't really feel like I did my job as well as I should have today, although I feel like it was pretty positive stuff-wise. And so that's an interesting standpoint. Like, he did only go 5, and I don't know, going longer, it does shorten the game, but nonetheless, like, they didn't allow any runs until it got to the 9th, so it was kind of a moot point, and it would have been Walker anyway. And then, you know, Eric Miller came in, and I can't really fault Miller for giving up a single to Kyle Tucker. I think that's more on Tucker than anything else. Like, Tucker's one of the best hitters in baseball, and you're just thankful he hit a single there and not a homer or a double or something, because it just tied the game. And then Miller did an amazing job in that 10th inning. Walker of Miller in that 10th said he's a beast. He came in and picked everybody up. He also said that Miller felt really bad about giving or allowing Ryan Walker's run to score. And then Ryan Walker was like, dude, don't feel bad. You saved us today. And he did. Eric Miller really did. So Walker also said about his own outing, obviously things were a little shaky, but I felt I could finish it out, because he was mad when Bob Melvin came to get him and took him out of the game, in which he had not blown the save yet. The tying run was on 3rd, I think it was, and Kyle Tucker coming up. But it's understandable 100% to make that move, especially with a lefty Kyle Tucker, like one of the best left-handed hitters in the game, and you've been shaky. So, and Bob Melvin said, I don't want him to want to come out of that game. So there's no bad blood. It's like competitive nature, and Bob Melvin is happy that Ryan Walker doesn't want to come out of that game. But then Walker did say, I get the move, and I think it was ultimately the right move. And he said, considering the things that were going on, I kind of felt like I got a second wind. I've got this. I'm going to finish it out, but I get the move. So anyway, it just does stink for Justin Verlander, but ultimately I care about team wins more than I care about Justin Verlander's wins. Like, go Giants. Like, he's a Giant, but at the end of the day, his 20-year career, he's been a Giant for like 30-something games. And so just thrilled the Giants got the win, and yeah. Anyway, Robbie Ray, who, by the way, let's recall, was acquired by Farhan Zaidi in a trade that sent away 2 of his own bad signings. Let's not forget they were his own bad signings in Mitch Haniger, who was dreadful, and Anthony DeSclafani, who had that one good year and then was signed to an extension and then was dreadful. But Mitch Haniger is still getting paid by the Mariners, even though he was released by them. So you could either still have Mitch Haniger, which would probably mean either you didn't ever sign Jung-Hoo Lee, or it could mean Elliot Ramos never got an opportunity. So getting away from Mitch Haniger you can't give too much credit for getting away from a guy you signed that turned out to be a bad deal, and it's early on Robbie Ray, and the peripheral numbers are still not gonna wow you. Like the fielding independent pitching for Robbie Ray is 4.03, but the ERA is 2.84 after this gutsy outing. I mean, against this Cubs team that's averaging almost 6 runs a game, Robbie Ray goes out there today, goes 6 innings, strikes out 5, walks 2, gives up 3 hits, and one of those 3 hits was a ball with an expected batting average of 0. It is never a hit, and it was a ball that Elliot Ramos completely got played by with the wind. It was just hit into the wind, and Ramos completely misplayed it, and it ended up falling. And not only was it just one of the hits, it was the run that scored. The only run that the Giants allowed against the Cubs today was on a ball that had an expected batting average of 0. So it doesn't, this is a perfect example, what I was saying. It wasn't an error because he didn't touch it, but that's why it's a perfect example of why I don't focus too much on errors as a measure of defense. I get it, the wind, but that was a play that should have been made, but the stupid rules that just are the way that we score keep about errors says that's not an error because he didn't drop it. He just had a horrible route, but it's not an error. But it was bad defense. But it was also the wind. I get it. So anyway, Robbie Ray was excellent. Camilo Doval was excellent, continues to be really good. And I was a little surprised they went to Doval in the 7th. And Rogers, not a surprise in the 8th, but then Ryan Walker in the 9th, that was the surprise. I really did think that they might give that next opportunity to somebody else, probably Doval, who was just so good again today. But Ryan Walker, he wasn't at his best, but his fastball command was there, and he got through the inning unscathed. I think he gave up just a run, and then he got a 3-ball count on somebody else and got through it. It started with a single, and then he got a double play on Justin Turner. So I do believe he fell behind Justin Turner. It was just 2-1, and he fell behind Carson Kelly he didn't fall behind. No, it was 3-2. And then the final batter, Nico Horner, yeah, he got ahead of him too. So there were some big misses, and they gave up that leadoff single, and you're like, uh-oh, here we go again. But then the double play calms everybody down. And just like that, the Giants win the series. And what a win it was. What a series it was. And now they have an off day, which they have not had a lot of recently. So that's big too. And a happy short flight to Minnesota, and then just a day to relax a little bit. So what a team, what a ride this has been so far. Hopefully they can keep it going, and we'll be back tomorrow with answering your questions. So thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter or X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much. So thank you in advance, and thanks to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening today. You are now Locked On Giants.